Remember, discomfort isn't the enemy, but uncontained, unsupported discomfort is. Healing happens when we choose the finite discomfort of growth over the endless discomfort of staying stuck, and when we build enough safety to make that growth sustainable. That's where real change happens.
Hi, I'm Barb Nangle. I want to welcome you to my podcast, Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. If you're tired of feeling fragmented and overwhelmed, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of wholeness, authenticity, and healthy boundaries. I'm a woman in recovery who is also a boundaries coach and speaker. I share raw and honest insights from my own journey and the principles of 12-Step Recovery. Discover how to set boundaries without guilt or shame, overcome people-pleasing tendencies, manage your emotions effectively, cultivate a stronger sense of self, and build healthier relationships. My approach is raw, honest, and sometimes a little bit, a lot sweary. I'm an avid beachcomber and a formerly closeted fan of the Hallmark Channel, especially Christmas movies. I wear fingerless gloves almost all year round because my hands are always cold. And I love taking pictures of license plates with my initials BN on them. I don't speak for or endorse any particular 12-step program of recovery. Though I'm a huge fan of 12-step recovery and a member of two such fellowships, I cannot speak for them. If you're ready for real talk and practical tools for transformation, keep listening.
This is episode 348, Why Avoiding Discomfort Keeps You Stuck and How to Get Unstuck. Today, I want to talk about something I come back to again and again in my work, and that's discomfort, but not in the way we usually think about it, because there are actually two very different kinds of discomfort, and confusing them causes a lot of unnecessary suffering. The first kind of discomfort is the kind that comes from being stuck in dysfunction, staying in unhealthy patterns, repeating the same behaviors, avoiding healing, avoiding change. That kind of discomfort doesn't go away on its own. In fact, it typically gets much, much worse. It compounds, it becomes chronic, and if nothing changes, it's not temporary, it's never ending. The second kind of discomfort is the discomfort of change, of doing something differently, interrupting old patterns, learning new behaviors. That discomfort is real and it can feel intense as hell, but it's finite. It has an end point. Because once you practice something long enough, it stops feeling foreign. It becomes familiar, and on the other side of that discomfort is healing and an entirely different way of living. This distinction matters a lot, especially when we're talking about emotions and emotional boundaries, which is my focus for this month. Because emotions are what move us toward things or stop us in our tracks. We pursue things because of how we think we'll feel. And we avoid things because of how we think we'll feel. It's that simple. It's all about feelings. A struggle a lot of people experience, a lot of the struggle people experience isn't because they're weak or incapable. It's because they've learned to avoid emotions, to suppress them, to numb them, to push them down, instead of letting them move through. This past weekend, I attended a workshop by Katya Cahoon, and she articulated this so beautifully that I wanted to share some of what I learned, layered with my own lens. She framed it as a kind of in defense of discomfort, and I loved that framing. I'm going to link her website in the show notes in case you want to learn more from here. Because here's the truth. There is no growth without discomfort, but not all discomfort leads to growth, obviously. For discomfort to be helpful, it has to be the right kind of discomfort in the right amount, under the right conditions, and within the right nervous system context. When those conditions are met, discomfort becomes productive instead of paralyzing. One of the core issues underlying many mental health struggles is something that's called experiential avoidance. This is the first time I'd heard this, but I totally get it. That's the tendency to suppress, judge, or avoid uncomfortable internal experiences like emotions and body sensations. So again, that's called experiential avoidance. And while avoidance might reduce pain in the short term, it also reduces joy, curiosity, meaning, and aliveness. You don't get to selectively numb. When you avoid certain emotions, you dull everything. This avoidance pulls us away from our values and away from the life we actually want to live. And it prevents us from accessing something really important, which is called flow. If you're not familiar with the term flow, the flow state is a state of deep, energized focus where you're fully immersed in what you're doing. It's when learning feels natural, creativity opens up, and effort feels alive instead of draining. I'm guessing even if you weren't familiar with the term, you are familiar with the concept. Flow can happen in so many areas. It can be in sports, in music, art, writing, knitting, teaching, parenting, therapy, even in coding. Flow arises when challenge and skill are matched. If something's too easy, we get bored. If it's too hard, we get anxious or overwhelmed. Flow does not come from comfort. Comfort has its place and we need it, but flow comes from manageable discomfort. Manageable discomfort is when effort is required, failure is possible, but the sense of threat is low. This is really important. In this kind of discomfort, your nervous system isn't in danger mode. Your attention sharpens, learning increases, self-conscious rumination quiets down. You move into action, and feedback feels safe, effort feels energizing. You're engaged, not depleted. But not all discomfort supports flow. There's a big difference between productive discomfort and overwhelming discomfort. Productive discomfort invites curiosity and exploration. Overwhelming discomfort activates the nervous system's threat response: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And when that happens, flow collapses. No more flow. So, a helpful question here is, can I fail here and still feel basically safe? If the answer is yes, you're probably in the right kind of discomfort. If the answer is no, something needs adjusting. The challenge might be too big, or the environment might not be supportive enough, or the people around you might be dysregulating. All this brings us to what I think is the missing ingredient in so many conversations about growth. You need a safe base. This notion of a safe base comes from attachment theory. A safe base is an emotional anchor that allows exploration. Think of a small child exploring on a playground. They wander off and then they look back to make sure their caregiver is there. They come back when they get distressed, get regulated, and then head out again. That's how growth works. We move toward independence because we carry safety inside. This is the internal safety I've been talking a lot about lately. And we can create that safety for ourselves when we build healthy boundaries and learn to manage our emotions and enact emotional boundaries. Without a safe base, either externally or internally, challenge feels dangerous, daunting, sometimes impossible. With a good enough safe base, challenge feels doable. And I want to pause here and emphasize something important. Good enough does not mean perfect. Donald Winnicott talked about the concept of the good enough parent years ago. Not a flawless parent, just someone who's more right than wrong. Not everyone grows up with that. In fact, most people grow up with trauma, inconsistency, or emotional unsafety. That doesn't mean you're broken. It means you didn't get what you needed. And the hopeful part is this: you can build a safe base as an adult, both internally and externally. We have neuroplasticity. Our brains can change. So let's talk about how. Internally, this looks like building psychological flexibility. That's the antidote to experiential avoidance that I mentioned earlier. It's how you talk to yourself under pressure, how quickly you recover from setbacks, practices that build resilience, practices that help you stay present in your body instead of checking out. And externally, this looks like good enough relationships in adulthood. That could be partners, friends, mentors, therapists, coaches, spiritual communities, even imagined cheerleaders, people that you imagine in your head cheering you on. So here are some examples of external supports in action. Think about the Couch to 5K program. It introduces gradual challenge with built-in support along the way for people who have been on the couch for years and want to work their way up to running a 5K. Think about 12-step recovery or other peer support communities. Healing happens in relationship, not isolation. Think about a good therapist or coach who helps you stretch without overwhelming you. In software engineering, there's something called pair programming. Two people working together, troubleshooting side by side. There's an attachment component here, a safe base. Body doubling is another example. Body doubling means working in the presence of calm others, co-working spaces, libraries. Just being around regulated nervous systems can change your own. And that is something I do all the time. I have a friend come to my home to co-work once a week because it's good for my and her nervous systems. I sometimes go to the library to work because I just need to be around other humans. It's good for my nervous system. I just intuitively knew I needed these things, and now I know why. Volunteering toward a shared goal with structure and compassion can also provide external support. All of these create safety, and that makes growth possible. So if you're pursuing a goal and you find yourself consistently stressed, anxious, avoidant, or shut down, I want to offer this reframe. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "Do I need more internal kindness or flexibility? Is the challenge calibrated to my current capacity? Am I focused only on the outcome instead of the process?" Think about it. We spend so much more of our lives in process than we ever do with outcomes. So if your process doesn't work, you're not going to accomplish anything. You're not going to stick to it. And you deserve to create circumstances under which your processes are supported. Do I need support? If so, professional, communal, practical. Do I need to regulate my nervous system through movement, breath, or rest, or being around others? Often the answer isn't another task. It's a different relationship with what you're already doing. Remember, discomfort isn't the enemy, but uncontained, unsupported discomfort is. Healing happens when we choose the finite discomfort of growth over the endless discomfort of staying stuck, and when we build enough safety to make that growth sustainable. That's where real change happens, and that's what I want for you. If you've ever noticed yourself going quiet, backing down, or overriding your needs just to keep a relationship going, this workshop is for you. It's called Boundaries for Real Love: How to Stop Shrinking in Your Relationships. Shrinking doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. You stay connected, but you're not fully present. You're there, but not all the way there. This workshop isn't about becoming hard, guarded, or confrontational. It's about learning how to stay yourself in relationship, even when guilt, fear, or pushback show up. We'll meet live on Zoom Thursday, February 26th from 12:30 to 1:30 Eastern Time. A limited replay will be available. If shrinking isn't working anymore and you want closeness without self-abandonment, you can learn more and register at higherpowercc.com/real-love. You don't have to disappear to stay connected.